What's going on, YouTube? So, my wife and I, we made the decision. It's time. It's time. We're leaving the U.S. before the end of the summer. Before the end of the summer, it's time. It's happening this year, and I've never been so excited in my life about a certain change like this. As a kid, I was always I was always used to moving a lot, right? I went to multiple middle schools, multiple elementary schools, multiple high schools. Multiple high schools. Did I go to? I actually only went to one high school. I obviously went to multiple colleges, and these are not just places just in the same city. Like I've lived in a lot of different states, you know. Um, so I'm always been used to moving, you know, whether it was on my own or because I was dependent and my parents needed to move for whatever the reason. Like I was always on the go, you know, and maybe that's what drives me today. I don't really form a lot of attachments, right? People may feel like they may feel that kind of empathetic soul from me. But you know, you gotta realize this, life is a game, and you gotta play the game, you know. And obviously, I'm more talking about with work and professional connections. Um, but yeah, I've always been on the go, man. I've always been and if I'm not on the go, my mind is, and it could be good and bad. And sometimes I gotta get honed in, but I am one of the many few, but few to to aggressively and probably dangerously want progression in their life. And I don't measure progression as a form of increasing income by itself. I don't measure progression as a form of, you know, increasing status, increasing class, increasing assets. I don't look at progression like that. Um, I don't look at progression as having so much stuff. I want progression. I look at progression as how bad do I maneuver to get to a lifestyle of peace? How bad do I maneuver to get to a place of self-actualization? You know, how bad do I detour and recreate my route or path of life to get to a level of happiness and comfort, including finances? You know, like how do we do that? And you know, I'm always thinking about it. That's probably a lot of the reasons why, you know, I wake up in the middle of the night sometimes. I'm thinking it's a weird dream, or I'm thinking I just gotta go to the bathroom. But maybe it's just my psyche in the back of my head. Like, I want to make sure I don't fail the next day. That's how deep it is. And that's why when I talk about these stats and stuff that I'm seeing in America, I'm in this parking lot. When I talk about the stats and stuff that I see in America, you know, it churns my stomach because I am an American. I live here. It could infect me. There's some things that has affected me negatively. So it churns my stomach. Now, the difference between me and other people is I still have time to get right, and a lot of other people don't. And that's what bothers me, because there's a lot of people who have just as much time as I have, if not more, and they don't even see it coming, right? And that's what actually sickens me. I tell my wife I'm actually bothered by the environment that I'm in, and I've been bothered for a while. I've been bothered for a good bit, and I've had this kind of lingering anxiety for the last couple of months. Just a lingering anxiety for the last couple of months, because I don't like knowing that I'm not in full control of my life, which you're not really are. You never can really be in full control in your life, you know, especially when you're not like living off the grid, so to speak. But it's like I can't keep busting my ass and feel like I'm just I'm just sitting on the sidelines, you know. And there's a lot of times where I feel like that, and I feel like there's a lot of times where I'm seeing and I'm hearing people, not on videos, in real life, say the same thing. It's dark this way. I'm sorry. Say the same thing, you know, and that doesn't sit right with me. You know, if you're not doing certain things to progress your life, to make adjustments, you're gonna sit and be 60 and 70 stuck. That makes me sick. You know what I'm saying? Where if you can change, if changing your environment, if that's the key for some people, it's not always the key for some people, but if changing your environment can help, then you gotta fucking do that shit. And I've looked at so many options. I study and I research shit. I study and I research it just off of will. I don't ask people questions. You know, I don't like to depend on people for necessarily for answers, right? Especially when there's people who are not in the same type of mindset, right? I feel like I'm kind of in this gray area, and it's hard to it's it's hard to you know, it's hard to explain where your head is at, where your mind and your heart is at, where your soul is at. It's really hard to explain that to people. You just gotta feel it. Like you just gotta get that shit. You know, and a lot of people don't. You know, so I say all that to say this. This is not gonna be long-winded, man, because I could talk about this shit for hours. But it's time. We're leaving before the end of the summer. We got our ticket, and I'm up. I'm done with America, right? I I'm not one to just talk, see the writing on the wall, and just lay there by the board and by that pencil. You know, I want to get out. I want to get out the room, continually peek, but keep stepping away from that door where the wall of writing is hiding. Like I want to maneuver. Like I can't. I was never one just to talk yap 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 and not follow through and not commit, not give answers to. You know, that's what annoys me about work, because I stand on 2 feet with my job, with my position, and I give, pour, because I'm just that on point, and that bothers people, and it affects people. It affects people when you're trying to be so on point where you're asserting a certain value of your time, and people don't like that. That doesn't work for me, you know, especially when we're at work. Jeez, I can't walk right here, man. Oh my gosh, all these bugs, man. Just rain, so this shit's crazy. It don't work for me, man, you know. So this is one of the many examples. You know, you can't really explain to people why you want to change your atmosphere and stuff, and your environment, your city, your zip code, your location, right? Change your job. You know, there's people who stay in relationships even though they're getting beat, tagged, abused, right? Because it's you know, there's a Stockholm syndrome with people in different parts of their life. There's literally people who will say, I can get this better job if I move, and they don't want to move. But they're the ones who's bringing that situation up. They're the one who's bringing that topic up. To me, I know if I live here, I can move, but I'm not trying to move. So what you bringing it up for? You know what I'm saying? Like, you know, there's different things that could change in your life positively, probably more than negative, if you can just change your zip code. And people do not understand that. And people get stuck just by a default way of thinking, you know? Like, it's crazy. And these bugs is fucking crazy. God. It's just default way of thinking, you know? Oh my Lord have mercy. You gotta maneuver, man. You gotta figure this shit out, you know? But I'm not one to preach and tell other people what to do. That's your own life. But with me and mine, you know, I'm trying to figure this shit out. You know? You know, I own multiple homes. I've been touching six figures. You know what I'm saying? Like, I've been in rooms with executives, like C-suite people, you know, not having a degree. I didn't finish school, you know, like there's different things. I'm so in the gray area where a lot of stuff doesn't even resonate with me because I'm just that middle person. There's a lot of things that I've experienced good and bad with where it puts me in a different category with people, you know. I've been in heavy religious sectors of like mindset, like very religious, right? Seventh-day Adventist type things, you know, Sabbath keeping, groups, you know, Hebrew Israelites, right? Reading the Torah, reading the Bible, like there's different things I've experienced while being in America. And now I just want to explore. Like that's all it is. I just don't feel that I should commit myself by default to a life of servitude to a corporation, to a man, to a department, right? To certain taxes, right? Like I can't, man, these bugs is going crazy. What in the world? I gotta get from the, what in the hell? I gotta leave this spot. Jesus, bro. Across the street, hold up. God, these bugs is killing me, man. It's all over my phone. Man, I'm sorry, it's dark. Man, I can't subjugate my life to just certain things just because it is what it is. I cannot go like that. Across the street. Trying to get this cardio in, man, and walk, but man, it's traffic and all these bugs. Anyway, I can't go like that. I cannot subjugate my life to the pretense of this is how it is. This is tradition, right? This is just the way the shit goes. That doesn't work for me. It doesn't work for me. It doesn't work for me. That's why I always move. When I was playing football and I realized I wasn't getting enough playing time, I said, screw these grades. I was on the dean's list. And that fall, I stopped going to class. I'm only going to school. I don't need school. I'm going to school because I'm trying to play football and you're not playing me. So that means you guys are playing me. You know what I'm saying? It doesn't work for me. And you know what my college coach at the point said? My college coach at that point said, you're not making a smart decision. Because we're training our heads thinking that this is the only way. Even though we see examples that it's not, we still feel like, well, this is the only way for me and people in my environment. So people are going to look at you weird when you start doing weird shit. People don't realize life ain't about following the path. Life is about opportunity. Life is about manipulating the cards you're dealt with. Manipulating it. Not dealing with it, manipulate it. Figure it out. People are so quick to listen to people and call it word, call it Bible, and it's not the case. Figure it out. Like, I'm enraged by looking between the lines and figuring life out because life goes by quick. And I'm not going to wait for another person or wait for my timeline to grab certain things I need to grasp because I made it to a certain age or I made it to a certain status or I've done a certain thing. That's not the case for me, and it's never going to be the case for me. So we're leaving the States. We're leaving the States in the next 90 days, man. If that. I'm excited. You know, my wife and I, we like to travel. We've been to different countries before we met and when we met, right? We didn't just travel in the country. We haven't been to different states. I've seen a lot of the states. I've probably seen 30 or 40% of the states. The shit's all the same. A little different people here and there. Obviously, because it's similar. It's one country, right? There's a lot of similarities between these different cities, different regions in your countries, right? A lot of similarities. Some differences, a lot of similarities. But we also been in different places outside the country. Outside the country, we want to continue doing that. The goal is to live and learn while you live. Live it and learn. That's how the fun happens. Because just by living, traveling, finding ways to increase the quality of life, you can not only have fun, you'll learn different aspects of life that you never understood. You know, there's people. You know, there's people who don't believe that there's internet outside like I've heard there's people who are older than me who don't believe that you can have internet in the US outside of the US. There's different people who don't understand that you can still communicate even though there's social media. Like I don't It's like when you talk to people about relocating out of states, they become dumb. I'm like, but don't you have social media? You don't believe social media is just in America, right? Like I don't, you know. This is certain things where people, when you start having real life conversations outside of the internet, you realize how dumb people are. I mean, you know how dumb people are on the internet. So it's like, and I hate using the word dumb, but that, you know, I'm talking about people who have degrees because we put a certain staple on people. We put a certain class and education proficiency on people because they've been been a steward to certain levels of education, certifications, and we call them smart. And these are the same smart people who's making dumb decisions or saying dumb things or reacting in a dumb way, right? Doing things that's counterintuitive to their professions, to their educations, to their studies. Obviously a telltale sign, right? The system is broken. You know, we could go on and on and on about the system, but you know what I'm saying? Like, this is just to let y'all know I'm done. I've seen too much already. I've seen way too much. There's no way I'm gonna live till 15, 16 and be like, I've had enough. I'm not living that long. I'm not even waiting to 40 to do that. No, when the writing's on a roll, you don't erase it and act like it wasn't there. You look at the writing, you study the lines, you look at the hieroglyphics, right? You look at the literature, and you make a decision right there. You know, I'm not an indecisive person. There is planning that's involved with relocating anywhere. There's planning, yes. There's pre-planning, there's planning, but you got to get to a point where you start executing. And I'm tired of people who just talk. Obviously, they're not planning to do nothing. That's why they're just talking, because they never get to a point of execution. And I'm not saying jump right into it, because I don't think it's a smart decision to try to execute something. There's no thought about it. There's no contingency. There's no ideas about having different options. You gotta do that no matter what you're doing. You know what I'm saying? Hope y'all can see me. It's a little dark. But execute, man. People, you know, it's people who don't have passports. There's people who never been on a plane. I'm not one for heights. I'm not this excursion heavy guy. You know, I'm not about to jump off of the Great Canyon. You know, I've seen people who be doing that and they die. You know, so like there's certain things I'm not gonna do. But I'm like, man, like, you know, travel. You know, I've met people who never left their zip code. Like I can't even imagine that. I have a bias, so it's wild. You know, it's wild. So I'm interested to see similar people outside the U.S. I'm interested to meet different couples, meet different families, You know, I just want to see more of life. That's all. That's it. This is not, you know, I'm not like looking for a way out. Like there's no way out of life. I just want to see more. You know, I just want to see more. I want to be indulged into different cultures and understand the good and bad. You know, I don't want to just see one side of the coin. You know, I want to see it. So that's my spiel, y'all. We're finna leave the country very, very soon, man. By the end of the summer. 2025 has been a pivotal year with a lot of change in our life, in my life specifically, you know. So I gotta compare and contrast. I gotta see what's going on in my life, in my family's life, and then just and and get a whiff of what the climate is producing. It's not a lot of good. So it's not a lot of good. It's not, man. It's just not. There's people failing left and right. And you are a product of your environment. It's going to be hard for you to kind of get out of that grasp if you're engaged too long, you know. So engage in a different atmosphere. You know, I implore y'all to just look around. Just keep looking around, and you're gonna feel the shit I am saying, bro. Just look around, smell it, smell it, man. See signs. Don't ignore stuff. You know. I keep y'all updated, man. I'm out of here though.